And I've had my microphone on mute all the way through that. So let's start again, shall we? That was professional. It's a new system. I'm just getting used to it. So welcome to YouTooSpain Live. This week I'll be asking our friend and visa specialist Richelle from Ask Richelle DNV all about the Digital Nomad Visa. Join us with questions and comments on the live chat or in the comments below, because you are a part of this too. You are welcome to YouTooSpain. Run the theme music. I hope this goes well. Let's dance, everybody. Well, I think that worked now. That is groovy. And speaking of groovy, are we all there? Are we all there in the background? Come and join us. Come and join us, you lovely people. Speaking of groovy, let's meet my wonderful guest for today. One more time. It's Richelle from Ask Richelle DNV. Here we go. Hola, Richelle.
Hello, good morning. Hola.
Hello, good morning. Well, that was a professional opening, wasn't it?
Yes. Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, and Happy New Year to you too. And from me and Liz, she sends her love.
Okay.
So it's great to have you back on the show. It's been a while, hasn't it?
It's been a while because you asked me sometime in between, and I just couldn't do it then because lots of stuff going on in my life then. So
family stuff, yes.
Yeah.
So
as in yours, it has been quite a year.
Oh yes, it's been quite a year, yeah. But it's all good for 2025. Really looking forward to that.
So, onwards and upwards.
Onwards and upwards. So everybody say hello to us on the live chat. We've not had anybody say hello yet. And as soon as you join us, I'll say hello and wave back to you and give you a name check. Okie dokie.
It's still early, Skatz. It's still early.
Yeah, it is. Fortunately, yes. So they've missed the complete mess up of an intro. It's probably just as well. Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
It's all right. But well, let's kick off. Okay. Yeah. Nobody's joined us, so we'll get straight onto the topic. I tell you what, while we're waiting for people to join, give us a quick introduction for those people who've not met you before.
Oh dear. I didn't expect that, Skatz.
No, sorry about that. Just tell us your name and what you do. That's
okay, I'm Richelle de Wit. I started working as a visa specialist, immigration, lots of issues that I dealt with as of on my own as a self-employed individual as of October 2020. Mm-hmm. Just at the end of COVID. Before I had been working as a volunteer advisor for Citizens Advice Bureau for 7 years. So I had lots of information about a variety of subjects, but I decided to specialize in immigration. And of course, because of Brexit happening and lots of people who needed help with, because it was still in the transition period, lots of people needed practical help with their last minute residency applications. And then the last minute driving license shit came up when everybody had to pre-register their licenses. So I was very busy the first couple of months, and it just took off from there. And then in the end of 2020, they announced the Digital Nomad Visa that you could apply for from Spain. And then I thought, this is my niche. I'm going to dive into this one straight from the start. And that worked out really well.
Yes, yeah. I know from working with you before, you're very dedicated to what you do, and you've got a 98% success rate, haven't you?
Yes, isn't it gorgeous?
That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, I must say, I work with Louise from the Move to Spain Guide.
Louise Carr,
in Facebook book, yes, Louise Carr, and Pablo Games and Keith LM. We're like the 4 DMV specialists on her group. And it's been really, really wonderful to be able to exchange information and share sorrows just between the 4 of us all through the years, because it's been a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And, so I'm a one-woman business, so it's really nice to be able to get feedback and to bounce off of other people who are just as dedicated and who have the exact same success rate or 1% more or less. So it's really fabulous. Yeah.
That's good. And you were saying the other day, it's really really nice for your clients to know that they're always going to be speaking to you.
Yes, because it's just me, myself, and I. Yeah. Yeah. So with larger companies like big law firms, you get an initial consultation often with somebody who might not be your actual contact person later on. So you think you hit it off in the initial consultation, and that's not going to be the person that's going to be dealing with your paperwork and everything. So, and there might be delays because they're very busy. Well, I am as well, but I try to respond really quickly.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be me. Same as with Louise and Pablo and Keith. By the way, they are joined. Some of Louise and Keith are with more people in the office, but it's always going to be the same person dealing with your paperwork.
Excellent. So, Digital Nomad Visa, is it the same as the Teleworkers Visa? Is that, and what's it called on the application?
Teletrabajadores Internacionales, officially. And so that's that's on the forms and everything that you need to submit. But in the English press, it's always been called the Digital Nomad Visa. It's not, it's people who work telematically. So with the help of computers and phones and faxes and whatever, are not presential in an office. They work from a distance, remotely.
Great.
And for company abroad. That's the main difference with other kinds of visas that you work in Spain. This one you work for a company abroad.
Exactly. That was going to be my next question. Who can apply for the visa? So it's
well, both employees and self-employed people. But employees, it's limited to countries that can produce a compatible social security certificate, because that's has been a big angle from the start. So people from the UK, recently Canada joined, China, Russia, and there's another one, Colombia or something. I think I can't remember that one. And so those from those countries, employees, because they can get the necessary certificate. Has to do with paying social security. You have to do that in the country where you actually work. And
does that put a lot of businesses off having people do it?
Well, some, but many have managed to convert their contract into a contractor agreement for a self-employed or a sole trader, and then they can apply. They just need 3 months into that new contract, and then they qualify again. So it is manageable. But for those people who are employees that can get a social security certificate, that prevents them from having to register for social security in Spain. So that comes in really handy. The only catch is that once that certificate expires, and in some countries, the UK, it's only issued for 2 years. And we hoped in the beginning that it would be extendable, but HMRC is not willing to extend it. So for those people, they have like limited options to continue, and that's a bit of a shame. That's become apparent in 2024. That's a bit of a shame. Another bit of a shame is that in the mainly in the English press, they have been promoting this visa with a big tax advantage that you could pay a fixed flat rate tax of 24%. And that's not available for everybody. That's only available for employees. So that's a really limited group of people. And it's not the largest amount of DMV people or DMV interested people who want to apply. So that's a shame. Because many people counted on that. And that's not the case.
So who is it designed for then? Any particular kinds of business? Is it kind of technology people who are doing
No, not really. I mean, what they've been asking for lately that had been in the original law but wasn't adhered to very strictly is that it has to be a university level or professional formation level kind of job. So not a secretary, basically. They have been accepting virtual assistants in last year, but both basically when they were also doing a higher level administration jobs for the company and stuff like that, or managing their social media. That's a very popular one. Social media, marketing, lots of technology, software engineering, but also management and consultancy in all sorts of fields.
And is Spain looking for any other particular kinds of businesses, or
No,
are they aiming at that?
they just want them to have high salaries
Ah, of course.
because they want their tax. Yeah.
So there's nothing that you're likely to be refused for unless it's just a low income thing.
No, of course you must meet all the requisites, and has become a bit more complicated these past couple of months, really. And Louise has joined, and Chris, I see.
Ah, yes, yeah. Hello, Louise. She's a Move to Spain guide.
Yeah, she said she would try to log in and listen while she's doing other stuff. And
Yeah.
that's
Morning,
always
Chris. We'll answer. He would love to know your opinion on the Golden Visa. We should
yeah,
come to that in a minute.
I'll do that. I'll give you that in a second. Yeah, no worries. Where was I?
Any particular kinds of, what could you be refused for?
Oh, okay. Well, of course, there's a variety of stuff you need to comply with. So first, you need to have a long-term contract with clients, businesses, so not private individuals, because you need to be able to produce a company certificate. For example, if it's UK people, from Companies House, so it must be an officially registered company, an incorporated company that you can get a certificate from. And that certificate needs to be certified, apostilled, sworn translated, the whole shebang. If you cannot produce such such a certificate, then that's a no-no. I mean, you have to have businesses as clients. Then for yourself, you either need a university degree or a professional formation diploma or a certificate. And if you don't have that, because it has to be a relevant one for the job you're currently doing. So lots of people studied something and then ended up doing something else, then you cannot use it. And if you cannot produce a relevant university certificate, you have to produce 3 years of relevant work experience. And in the beginning and all through 2024 as well, the UGE, that's the Special Immigration Office dealing with the Digital Nomad Visa, they accepted if your contract with your current employer or current client wasn't 3 years or longer, then they accepted reference letters from previous clients or previous employers. Not anymore. Maybe they've had bad experiences or whatever, but they don't believe you on your blue eyes or just that letter. They want proof, additional proof from an official government source that you actually had a work relationship with that company or that client. So you need to produce information from Social Security or from tax office. And for employees, that's not that complicated. I mean, in the UK, you download it in a minute from the HMRC website. And then you do have to get it apostilled and translated, sworn translated, because that's what they insist on. But for self-employed people, it's not that easy. You have to be really creative. But we're doing our best for our clients to make that happen. But almost every single application that had been put in the course of December has been receiving requests from the UGE about that additional information. So that's something they're really insisting on now. The shame is always that if there's a change in their instructions, basically, they don't put it in writing in their actual instructions. They have not been updated since January 2023. So it's basically through professionals who deal with the visa and who share their information, like on Louise's group, Louise's Facebook group, that people get to know about these new or adapted or adjusted requirements. And the next thing, in my opinion, that we're waiting on is when we're going to have renewals. What kind of stuff they want, that's not in the instructions either. And I'm guessing it's going to be proof that you've been paying tax. That will be the logical thing for me. There's nothing in the instructions yet, but I'm sort of waiting for it.
Yeah. We'll have you back on the show on when that happens.
Yeah. The first ones, my first ones were approved in April, I think. There's a couple been approved a little earlier in March. So as of March, we'll see renewal applications being approved, because people can apply for or submit their renewal applications 60 days before the current one expires, like with all other residency applications. So I'm expecting answers to or feedback to come back.
It's going to be an interesting year for that.
Yeah, it's going to be an
Obviously
interesting year, and especially
new
around
residency
March,
rules.
April. Yeah, it's very interesting. The other requisites that you need to meet. Oh yes, of course, the income.
Yes, income requirements.
Income requirement, for it depends if you're on your own or with a family. If you're on your own, it's at the moment 2,646 euros a month. Bound to go up because it's related to the minimum wage in Spain, and we're all expecting the proposals are in, and we're expecting for the definite decision what percentage is going to go up. We're expecting 5%. So when people ask me, I say reckon with 5%, and then you're probably good. It was 5% last year as well. So, and that's the aim of the Ministry of Social Social Services and Immigration. So let's hope it's going to happen.
Yeah,
because it's good for Spain. It's maybe not so much for the people who are on the lower end of the income for the digital nomad, but minimum wage to go up is good for Spanish workers.
Yeah,
And that's the main thing. We're all immigrants and we're sidelines. And what else requirement you have to meet? There's no age limit. Blah blah. Oh yes, of course, a clean criminal record.
Oh yes, of course.
Oh, pretty
that
important.
kind of goes without saying on all visas,
Yes.
doesn't it?
Well, it goes without saying because it's for every visa. But recently, they have been asking. Well, earlier on, if you had for example, an old driving offence, mostly a drunk driving offence, that they would still accept it because their instructions for the Digital Nomad Visa ask you to provide a criminal record check from the country where you resided in the last 2 years before applying for the DMV. And for a sworn declaration or responsible declaration that you didn't have anything happening in the 5 years before you submitted it. So in the beginning, we all said, okay, well, so if it's something that happened like 10 years ago, it will be fine. And it was fine. But at the moment, they're not accepting everything. So in my general conditions sent to people, so I don't accept anyone with any criminal record because it's just too risky.
Yeah.
And the good thing about the Digital Nomad Visa. No, that's in one of your questions. Just ask along. Otherwise, I'll go ahead of myself.
Actually, we'll do what I'll do is before we continue, I'm just going to talk about the QR code that's in the corner. If you've learned something of value, everybody, something of value to you, or if you've been entertained, then you can show your appreciation by scanning that code. It's up in that corner, and that's to our GoFundMe page where you can make a donation to support this channel. If you've never used QR codes before and you'd rather do it another way, go to the video description and there's what I call a SuperLink, which goes to a special app where you've got my contact details, and also there's the donation link in there. That's very, very easy. And so let's go to what Chris was asking about before we move on, I think. So what do you think about the golden visa change?
Well, it's a shame for me and for lots of other professionals that it's going to be abolished. I mean, there's a definite date now. I think it's the 3rd of April. That is definitely going to be off the record, of the range of possibilities of visas. So until then, you can still apply. So if you only just bought a property or you're still looking at one to buy, and you're worried about whether you're going to have everything arranged for within time, as long as you can provide proof that you paid the tax on the property. So even if not all the paperwork is ready, but if you prove the proof of the transfer tax, then you can apply, and your application will be processed.
Oh, well, that's good to know. So it's just paying the tax. That's the piece of paper that they need.
So that means that in practice, all the paperwork has to be sorted. And if you have a mortgage, blah, blah, that everything has to be in order as well. But you have to have paid the tax on the property and have proof of that. So even if you're still waiting on the actual registration in the Registro de Propiedad, in the property register, of which you need to present a special certificate with the application, that can be done later. It might be that they issue you a digital or a golden visa for just 6 months, but during that time, then you will have the time to arrange for the rest of the paperwork. So that's a good option. So people, if you're still interested, send me a message.
Yeah, do it quickly.
Yeah, do it quickly. Don't hesitate, and don't stall.
Absolutely. And watch the video that I put out last Wednesday. That tells you.
It's a shame because
the
the arguments why it's been abolished are rubbish, because it's not going to create more properties available for Spanish people. I mean,
no.
If it were the case, then why didn't they just buy them? I mean, there was no prohibition or nobody preventing them from buying those properties. So no, I think it's just like a popularity thing. Like, look what we've done for the people of Spain.
Yeah, and it's happening in a lot of countries in Europe. It happened in Portugal, didn't it?
But it's rubbish. If you look at the percentage, and the percentage of golden visas that have been issued, that's really low.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I welcome each and every one of them.
It works in Switzerland. I think everybody's on the golden visa in Switzerland.
Is that, are they?
Yeah, it's smart. If you're a racing driver, for example, you go there because they don't charge them the tax. Because what they do is they go into Switzerland and they spend the huge amounts of money that they've got.
And that's enough.
So they get it in tax from purchases on VAT and all of that kind of thing.
Yeah, of course.
So Switzerland is still making plenty of money, and of course all of the money is kept in Swiss banks. So
yeah.
So it's good for them. But
that will be an alternative then. But it doesn't have the same climate. It's not exactly the same, does it?
No, absolutely not. And I can't imagine this socialist government going for the same kind of system as Switzerland.
No. No.
There you go. And I was going to make a remark about the UK license, renewing your UK license when resident in Spain, because we did have a question about this last week.
Oh, yes.
And you'd said something to me about it. Can you elucidate on that?
Yes, because I watched the show later on this week, and there was something about renewing your license because, for example, if you lose it while you're in Spain and you're already a resident here, and you lose your UK license before you had a chance to exchange it for a Spanish one, and if you're in the UK and you need it for driving there, so you just ordered a new one. So it's not basically a renewal, but you ordered a new a license card. Then there shouldn't be an issue exchanging it for a Spanish one afterwards. I had a lovely client who had an awful lot of problems with his own license because he couldn't get the special code because it was over 70. And then there is no entitlement in the system anymore for in the UK database. So he had a lovely contact at DGT Malaga that he could ask a lot of questions of, and he got actual answers, helpful answers. And he also asked about that. So if under this new agreement that's been in place since 2023, if you happen to renew your license or get a new card while you were already a resident in Spain, then they say, no, that's not an issue. The only issue is if you obtained a license in another country while you're already a resident in Spain. So that's your first time license, doing the tests and everything. So not when you renew it. So, and if anybody's interested or has problems, or Chris, if he wants it, I saved, of course, that email from the DGT for people to carry it with them if they want. Because if one DGT says it and it has the name and everything on it, then somebody else, another office should as well, or at least they know they can get in contact. Well, or they can get in contact, say, hey, why do you say this? Where do you get it from? At least there's a chance.
Yeah, it looks like it's another case of officials interpreting the rules
but also
and saying no.
My interpretation used to be that as well, that it was an offense. Of course, you're supposed to renew it in your country of residence. But if for any reason, blah, 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 you lost it and whatever. Chris's suggestion was a good one, to get a denuncia as proof that you lost your license. And that's the reason why you did it, because you had a holiday planned in the UK, blah, 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 blah. Document your case.
Paper trail, that's the reason.
Yeah.
Good.
That was that. I hope there's some people lurking, because there's nobody commenting on the chat.
No, everybody give us a wave on the chat. There's definitely people watching. I can tell.
And it's not even beautiful weather, so people should be just inside enjoying the show.
Yeah, maybe it is quite a specific niche, the digital nomad visa.
It is.
There's a lot more non-lucrative visa people who've and past people who actually applied and are now in Spain who watch the show. But yeah, and I think a lot more people will watch this afterwards.
Yes, I know. I get responses from that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. So my next question was going to be, do you need professional qualifications? But you've already answered that one, haven't you?
Yes.
No, yeah. So, and is there any real difference between that you haven't talked about already between working for a company or being self-employed? What difference does that actually make?
The length of your visa, because, for example, if you're from the UK, then you get that Social Security certificate, an A1, and that's only issued for 2 years. And so your Digital Nomad Visa, or authorization basically, should also is also going to be related to the length of your A1. So if you have it for 2 years, then your DMV will also be for 2 years. If you're self-employed and you have contracts that are at least as long as 3 years or indefinite, then you will get it for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the main difference.
Helen Murray's just asked a question really that you were just starting to answer at the same time as it came up. So just clarify. So produce a social security certificate. What does that mean for UK candidates? Is it related to national insurance?
Yes, it definitely is related to national insurance. Yeah. It's a two-way process. The company that you work for has to apply for a permission from HMRC to send or to post workers abroad, because the Digital Nomad Visa makes use of the Posted Workers Agreement, Social Security Agreement. So that's basically an agreement that says that if you pay the Social Security in one country, you don't have to pay it in the other, even though you're working in that other country. So your employer has to apply for permission to do that. And then you have to apply for the actual A1. It's say CA 3821 form for the employer, and for the employee, the CA 3822. So that's what you need to Google on HMRC. And or the government UK website has excellent instructions. So yes, it has to do with national insurance. Your employer will have to mention in the authorization letter that they're going to continue paying national insurance for you for the duration of your post in Spain, basically. Or
is that going to run out after 2 years? That's what she's asking.
Yes, it's going to run out. Yes, it's going to run out.
So will you have to stop then and move back?
Well, no. There's two options. Three. The first one is you could ask your employer if they're willing to pay Social Security for you in Spain, which could be beneficial if your wages are really high, because there's a cap on Social Security in Spain. But if they're not really high, then it could be that your employer is going to have to pay more Social Security for you and might want to compensate for that in your wages. So but that's one option. Or they just might not want to do it because it's a hassle and it's expensive. The alternative is to ask your employer if they would put you on a contractor agreement like a sole trader. And so that you will be self-employed in the UK and then also register as self-employed autonomo in Spain. And so that you would take, by registering as autonomo, you take care of your own Social Security payments. You pay them every month to the Seguridad Social. And the other alternative could be, but that will endanger your continued residency if you aim for permanent after 5 years, is that you could go back to the UK for 2 months so that you qualify for a new A1 again. But most people are not really interested in that because they have their life here, their family here, blah, blah, blah. And so and maybe a last resort thing. But of course, it conflicts with continued residency, because if you don't have a continued national insurance contribution here, blah, 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 then you're not gonna qualify for the permanent residency.
Yeah, fair enough. And Chris says, yes, please send that email, the driving license DGT email to him, please.
Oh, okay, I will do.
And they're watching on the big screen. He's got a big projection screen out.
Oh my God, not with the whole office, oh.
Yeah. Well, no, I think he's at home.
Okay.
There you go. So, how do you prove your remote worker status? for the visa?
Okay. Well, you don't have to have worked remotely before. You could just like start when you go to Spain, but your employer
All right.
doesn't.
I thought you needed to have 3 months worth of.
No, not as a
proof, no?
remote worker. Just have a contract with your current employer or current client. But you can start your remote work as of when you move to Spain.
Oh,
So, but the employer or client does have to mention in the authorization letter that they do authorize you or are okay with you moving to Spain, and that you're going to continue to work remotely for the company. So, yeah.
brilliant. And we're moving on to the question of renewals in a minute. How long does the visa last, and how long can you renew it for?
I asked Ruth that because, of course, if you have the officially renewals are for 2 years. So if you had the initial one for 3 years as a self-employed person, or with someone as an employee, but from a country where they issue the social security securities for longer, like Canada, then you would have it for 3 years. But say from the UK, you have it for 2 years. If you want to renew, you only get to 4, and the renewal after that would ordinarily be for permanent residency. But you don't reach that 5 years yet because you had 2 years and then you get another 2 years. So I asked the UGE, how many times can you renew for? And they say, as long as you meet the requirements. So as long as you can still prove, because at every renewal, you have to accredit again that you meet all the original requirements. So you need to provide proof of income. You have to have another letter from your employer or your clients. You have to present contract again, recent wage slips or invoices, the whole shebang. The only thing you do not have to accredit anew is your clean criminal record, because you've been in Spain for the last 2 years. So Spain is just going to check that in their own database. So that's what you don't have to renew. You don't have to renew documents that confirm the family ties. So if you're married, you don't have to renew that. But instead of it, you have to have a declaration signed. Same with kids. So that's a bit of a saving if you're in the costs if you go and apply for a renewal. But in principle, as I asked them and they confirmed, you can renew indefinitely.
That's great.
Yeah.
Can I say good morning to JD Grant? He's joined us. And I didn't say good morning to Paul Cook, I don't think. He was the first one to say hello. And there we go. Everybody else, give us a wave on there and click on the like button if you haven't already. And so let's move on. What I've got the question is, what are the benefits of the Digital Nomad Visa? Anything special we haven't mentioned yet?
Well, the main benefit is that you can work. And because, of course, Spain was aware that even people with a non-lucrative visa here were actually working, because in many countries, like the US, it was interpreted as that you could not work for a company in Spain. But they felt free to take on work for companies in the US. And that, of course, was already remote work. So Spain is, because people ask me that often, they say, can you change, for example, from an NLV to a DNV? I think that's one of your questions as well.
It is, yeah.
It ties in with this one. And then the answer is yes, because Spain is apparently happier with you being registered as a worker and paying tax and social security as such than just working on the sly under a digital nomad visa or under a non-lucrative visa. And maybe they will find some of your income in your renta income tax declaration, or maybe not, if you keep it from them. So yes, the second big advantage of the digital nomad visa is that if you have a spouse, then they also have full rights to work, more rights to work than the main applicant, because they're not limited to remote work. They're not limited to work for a company or clients abroad. They're not limited to, for example, if self-employed, 80% from a client, a foreign client, and 20% from Spanish ones. They can do whatever they want. Set up a company, be autonomous, work in a shop, work in a bar, everything.
Brilliant.
Tell the kids when they turn 18.
So by family members, you mean spouse or
Spouse and kids,
spouse and kids?
basically.
Yeah.
You can also add other family members, but you have to prove, like with all other visas, that they're dependent on you, either financially or medically.
Yeah, and that's tricky.
Well, not so much, not so tricky for kids who are still of study age.
Uh-huh.
So you can add them, like if they're 18, 19, 20 and they're still studying, you just you make sure that you can accredit that as a parent you pay for their study costs, and they have to produce a declaration that they haven't formed their own family unit yet, they're still single, or they don't work. So it can't be people from the UK who have a work and who live independently, but decided it's going to be nicer to move with mum and dad to Spain. No, not for those, unless you've been still sending them money monthly to pay for the rent or something. But it's more complicated then.
Yeah. So these family members, do they apply separately or as part of the one application?
Well, now everybody applies separately, but they're linked. So you apply for the main applicant, you put in the application first, that generates a reference number, and that reference number needs to be on the dependents applications as well. But they're all separate applications with their own paperwork. You can also split the timing. For example, if you have a larger family and you have to move, you're going to move here from a country that's not as close by as the UK, then it might be beneficial that if the main applicant comes in for a couple of days, has their application submitted, goes back to the family in the country of origin, waits for the results, and when it's been approved, brings over the whole family and then submits the applications for the family members. It limits risks. It's a bit of a timing stuff, because if they're self-employed, they have to register as autonomous first, because you have to provide proof of that with the family members' applications. But it's very doable. Several clients of mine have done that last year.
Great. Now, I think you've already answered the next question. Can you swap from the non-lucrative visa to the digital nomad visa after year one?
I had a discussion together with Pablo. We had a discussion on an NLV group the other day, and there was somebody so adamant that you couldn't, but you can, for the reasons that I earlier explained. And there's proof. I mean, people have done it. You can also change from a student visa, for example, or another kind of visa. As long as you're in a regular situation in Spain, then you can apply. Of course, if you've been here working on something else, on another visa, then the UGE will want to see additional proof that you've been here legally. So if you've been met your tax obligations, so they'll ask for a certificate from the tax office, for example. But there's some extra stuff. But as long as you're in a regular situation, which you are when you're here on a visa, or you're still in the 90 days after, which is the legal period to renew your visa, then you can also still apply.
Great. And so where do you apply? You said you apply from inside Spain at the UGE, or can you do it through the consulate?
Most consultants and immigration lawyers that I know only provide assistance with applications made in Spain. Probably the larger offices also help with applications made at the consulates, but all the consulates are autonomous. That means that they can all decide their own interpretation of the regulations, and I just can't do that. I just can't do that. I can't take the time to just familiarize myself with all their specific details. So I limit to Spain. So you can apply from Spain. You have to also be in Spain, even though it's an online application. You have to accredit that you entered Spain with a stamp in your passport or a declaration of entry if you moved overland to Spain, you traveled overland, and that you're here when the application is submitted. After it, you can move back. As I said, you only need to be here for a couple of days. 3 to 4 working days is what most of us recommend. And that's because if there's issues with the platform, technical issues, or they just have maintenance, that's always unannounced, but it usually only takes a day or two. So you have the 3rd and 4th day as a safety. So don't come over for the weekend, because don't expect us to get your application over the weekend.
Come over for a couple of weeks. It's a lovely place to be.
Well, you could, yes. But the thing is, people want to save their Schengen days or just in case something goes wrong and they have to come back or be here to be able to submit the second one, which is much easier if something goes wrong with them for whatever reason than filing an appeal, because appeals are horrible and they take even longer with the UGE than with regular immigration offices. 5 8 months is not an exception, and then you're just in limbo all the time.
Yeah, that was my next question. How long does it take to apply and how long to get a response?
Well, to prepare for an application, I always say 3 to 4 months. Because of that, 3 months work experience of a contract you need to accredit. If there still needs to be something added or changed to the contract, then there's still time for that. And then after submitting, then the UGE has a very limited window to respond, 20 working days. So that's all the time that it should take for you to get an answer. If they have a request for additional information, which is sadly very frequent at the moment, then the clock will stop. The 20 days will be suspended, and this clock will start again when you submit your requested document. So if that takes you 10 days or 8 days, 8 working days, then you have 28 working days in total that they have to respond to your application. But it's not bad. I mean, a month of waiting time, that's really good. And
that's not bad at all.
For example, it was really fast. They responded in 8 to 12 days. It was magic. Yes.
Brilliant.
For all those people. Yeah.
So
it's not a consistent factor, I'm afraid. So it can be anywhere between, I always say, 8 to 20 days.
Yes, I don't think any of the visas are consistent about how long it takes.
No, and you can, of course, apply at the consulates, and supposedly they should apply or respond within 10 working days, but it's very sketchy as of what day they count. And not as of the date they receive your paperwork, but as of the date they put it in the system, and that can be weeks after. So,
and do they charge a fee like they do with the Golden Visa as well?
Good that you ask, because there's a horrible fee. For example, at the UK consulate, the Spanish consulate in the UK, it's like £600 per person.
Per person as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you come with the whole family, and
if you've got 7 kids, that'd be terrible.
well, even if you've only got 2, then it's going to be a hefty sum. And at the UGE, you only pay like an administrative fee of, at the moment, €73 something. So that's quite a difference.
Yeah.
I would say that you can almost finance the fee for your consultant from what you save on the visa fee.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, that's a good argument, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I always said that about the Golden Visa to people. You're
mad if you do that from the yes.
Yeah, because it's
from
similar
from
fee.
your own country. Yes, definitely. And then you only get it for a year.
Yeah. There's 2 big disadvantages. So good morning to Bill Anderson.
There's something else that I need to
add.
Oh
yes, go on then. I'll say good morning to you in a minute.
Until very recently, because that visa year doesn't count towards 5 years residency, towards permanency. No. So what people did, they had, for example, if they came from the Philippines, that was very usual, very ordinary for people to do that. Come from the Philippines with your visa, then come to Spain, and immediately with all your paperwork that's still valid and still in force, submit everything to the UGE for that small extra fee. And then you get the visa for 3 years, your authorization for 3 years. They don't allow that anymore at the UGE. You need to wait until 60 days before your visa expires before you can do that. So that's another argument for just coming to Spain, submit it here, and not do it at the consulate first. Unless, of course, you're an actual digital nomad and you just want to be here in Spain for a year.
Yes. Yeah.
And don't want to have the hassle of having to apply for a TIE, have a long-term rental contract and all that hassle. If you don't want to do all that, then you're just fine with your visa and you can go in and out as much as you want.
Yeah, and you can hop about to different countries. And
yeah.
That's lovely. Yeah. Yes, good morning to Bill Anderson. Hello, Bill. I'm going to be on Bill's radio show at some point this month. I can't remember the date. Maybe you can remind me, Bill. I know I've got it in the diary, but that's not in front of me. And good morning, everyone. Happy 2025 from E9 Hug. And I've forgotten your name. I'm sorry about that. So many people with different names on here that it doesn't show up on the live chat. Maya says, let me guess, they are making it more difficult. Lol. Yeah, well, yeah. Well, there's always difficulty.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. And I don't think it's just something that Spain does deliberately. I think they just have this penchant, I think is the right word, penchant for accuracy of bureaucracy, and they want as much as possible, don't they?
Well, in this case, besides the fact that this visa is still a baby, basically, I mean, it's only 2 years old, and they have been fine-tuning stuff. In the beginning, you could submit ordinary translations that you could just do yourself. Now it's all sworn translations. In the beginning, you didn't have to apostille a company certificate. Now you do. There's lots of fine-tuning stuff, let's say. But it's also, we think there's, we know there's a new chief in the UGE department dealing with this visa. And it could be a matter of her just wanting to put her stamp on everything. Yeah, give it a bit of her turn and her interpretation. So, and that varies from the previous one, sadly, for some. Because for some people, yes, it has become more difficult.
Yeah. It's just the same when you get a change of government. Everything changes.
Yes, everything changes. Yeah.
So now we're not going to have a half-time break today, as I usually do, but I do have some extra important information for you before we continue. Here's my own little advert. The currency exchange rate has been really, really good recently between the pound and the euro, and the US dollar and the euro as well. That's been
yes, I saw the other day. My God.
And it's always been on my mind, and I'm sure it's on yours too, but it seems to have been quite beneficial to UK or American people heading to Spain, which means if you're planning to move or buy a property in Spain in the next few months, this is a great time to fix your forward rate at the rate it is now, which safeguards you against any fluctuations that could possibly happen, because the only thing that's guaranteed about the exchange rate is that it's going to go down at some point. And you can also set your regular pension payments for a year or even 2 years at that same rate if you want. And the company I recommend, let's put them up on the screen now. It's Smart Currency Exchange. I've got a QR code for them there. If you use that code or the link in the video description below, you get a free account and free advice in your own personal broker, who is an expert in particular on buying property. They're very good there. Because they're dealing with the larger sums of money, and you can avoid any bank charges which some companies have a difficulty with, and they're good at guaranteeing you the safest deal, because they're the only company who can guarantee you more than 85,000 if the company goes bust. That's the standard amount. But they've got a deal with a high street bank, so they're completely guaranteed. If they go under, you get all of your money. So give them a try. They're very lovely and helpful. And by using that link below, you'll actually be helping YouTooSpain as well at no cost. As we always say, it is a win-win-win with the cherry on top. There we go. So let's just remove that one for now. You can still get to it in the video description. Here we go. So back to the questions. Any comments on here?
There's one from Helen Murray.
Helen Murray. Self-employed means you are paid through a company you own 100% and that is registered in the UK. Is that what it means? Yeah. And can this route?
No, not necessarily. The simplest self-employed option is when you're a sole trader or a consultant and you work on a contractor agreement with a company that you do not own yourself. So a third-party company, and you have a contract with them. You invoice them, they pay you, that's it. You can apply as self-employed through a company you own yourself, but that will be either through a contractor agreement with your own LTD company, or if you have contracts between your LTD company and client companies as autónomo societario, meaning that you're a one-person company that's mentioned in the contract with the client, that you are going to be the one providing the services. Basically, I've just had an approval on an application like that, and that is doable. So,
Right. And this route.
what is risky at the moment, because in the past, they also, for example, I mentioned that before, yeah, that if you have private individuals as clients, that you do not qualify for the Digital Nomad Visa. So what has been like a workaround for that is people running their income through an LTD company that they own, and then give themselves either an employment contract or a self-employed contract with their own LTD company and apply with that, so that they could qualify with having a client, a registered business, which was their own, and then the whole background would disappear, like the background with the private clients. At the moment, that's riskier, because if they have the idea that you are actually the owner of the company that you're presenting as your client, then they will ask for a lot of extra documents, like whether your company has productive means, what are the client contracts, what's their income source. And if they then find out that it's all private clients that you don't have contract with, so there's no continuity of the income stream, then you might still have a big problem, especially if the company bears your own name. That's like a sort of a giveaway. And we feel that the UG is actually checking on, because it's such an easily accessible platform, that they're actually checking companies' house for owners or directors. Companies.
So can going through this route lead to permanent residency after 5 years?
Yes, especially if you do it as a contractor to your own company.
Great.
If you can make that work, or as I mentioned, the autonomo societario option, but then you would need a long-term contract with a client, another business.
Great. Thank you. That's all very clear. Has the Digital Nomad Visa turned out to be as good as what people were hoping for?
Well, for some, it depends on your expectations. Let's say that for the first time, to start with. I'm amazed still at how little some people investigate about what next, what comes after actually getting the visa. They just focus on meeting the requirements, focus on getting their approval. But what next? And tax is a really, really big next. And I try to provide lots of information to my clients. In the first quote that I send out, there's always links to how to register as autonomo, what it all means, and to a regular, like a general information about taxation in Spain, so that you can see the actual percentage attached to income. It's up to people if they read that information. And of course, if you go and live in an area that's really expensive with rent and with living expenses, or impossible to get a rental contract for long term, or, well, lots of other issues, or if you need your spouse to get a work contract and it's difficult where you try to find it. It depends on lots of factors whether it's going to be a success or not. But preparing yourself for the tax issue and having the calculations done will save a lot of disappointment when you're actually here. I mean, the climate, if you have kids, the way families are treated here in Spain, it's going to be a huge plus. But you must not be like put down by the weight of the amount of tax that you have to pay. It has to be a balance for your own personal situation. So that's why I say inform yourselves. And I'm really happy that I'm also working with the great international tax lawyer, Carlos Gay from Legal Angels, who I can refer people to if they have a more complicated situation with their own company abroad, who would want to apply for Beckham law but don't know exactly how to do that, because applying is not the issue. you will get it because your tax office will give it to you. But the issue is with the intricacies of meeting the actual requirements when you are submitting tax under the Beckham's law. Then they will start digging into your situation and audit. In lots of cases, they will audit and check if you actually meet all the requirements. And then you need a good lawyer behind you who will fight your case.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows the ins and outs of your application, who has made sure that it's as watertight as it can be.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah.
So I often refer people to him even before they start on their journey to get the Digital Nomad Visa, because I say get that information first. Yes, it will cost you because he's not going to do that for free. There's an initial consultation, and then depending on what kind of information you want, there's a price ticket. Of course there is, but it's all in the package of being prepared. And it's much more expensive if you get audited and you have to pay back the tax that you paid on the Beckham's law, for example, plus a fine, then haven't paid something out to get clarity and be able to avoid all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Great. So
it's a personal picture, and you have to put the pluses and the minuses and still come out on top.
Of course.
I think Spain still works.
Yeah, me too. Let's move through the documents and paperwork that you need in order to apply. Just give us a kind of list of that. You've talked about a lot of the system you need to go through, but yes, paperwork.
Oh, yes. A very specific thing for Spanish immigration is that they want official documents like marriage and birth certificates to be newly issued. They can't be older, for the UGE, it can't be older than 6 months since issue, and apostilled and sworn translated. That's like a big thingy. And most people who come to me and say, I've got everything prepared, it just needs submitting. And then the first look I get is a birth certificate or a marriage certificate from the date when they got married. Mm-hmm. No, off you go again, start again. So no, yeah, that's a very particular thing for Spanish immigration. Don't ask me why. Oh yes, you can ask me why, and then I do have an answer. Because in Spain, if you get divorced, for example, that's all registered in the civil registry. So if you would go back to that and apply for a marriage certificate, it would say, no. But that's not the same in other countries. So that's why they ask for a recent copy. What next? Okay, so your criminal records check, also apostilled and sworn translated. The company that you work for, a certified certificate of incorporation or of good standing, also apostilled and sworn translated. Your work contract, your current one, previous ones, if your current one doesn't meet the 3 years work experience, if you're applying with that, a university degree or diploma, also apostilled and sworn translated. An authorization letter from your employer or a client, and that has to confirm your current wages or fees, both in the local currency and in euros, and some details about your contract, your job description, and blah blah. And if you're also presenting reference letters from previous clients or previous employers, make sure that the job description is not too short, that it contains elements that the other letters also contain, so that they can match them. Mm-hmm. You need to present 3 months worth of wage slips or invoices. And in Spain, I always ask people, put on your account number and your bank so that they can also check that back with the bank account statements that you have to provide with for proof of payment of those invoices or wage slips, so that it's easy to make it easy for them. And it's basically, it's a Word document for most people. So just add it on and make sure that, well, not the wage slips, but the invoices, yes. Make sure that it's easily traceable for them to match one and the other.
And everything needs to be translated, obviously. That's the written documents, not the bank ones.
No, not bank ones. I always have one invoice translated or one wage slip, because it's only a small amount of words, and I just feel it helps the application. I've never been refused on that item. Anyway, never had any answers about that. And in the whole of things, just adding one small invoice or page slip is not an issue.
Yeah.
And but bank statements definitely not. Savings. if you want to add savings, preferably not. The big thing is that you need to meet the minimum income with the income from work. Especially if you're on your own or just a couple, you need to meet that minimum limit. If not, then it's very risky to add savings to complement the gap that there is. If you're a family of 4 or 5, and for the latest member of your family there's a small a small gap, then yes, you can add proof of savings. And I would do like a balance certificate and have that translated. Yes.
Right. Mahamaya says, I need a Spanish wife. This is too complicated for me.
Oh, he just needs a good consultant.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm going to say. Getting a Spanish wife doesn't necessarily make your life easier.
No, because a Spanish wife has a Spanish family.
Yes.
That's for one.
Brilliant. So is this
a whole different ballgame?
Yeah. Is this easier to apply for than any other visas?
Easier? No, I wouldn't say easier. No. Non-lucrative visa is easier because you apply from your own country, and you don't have to deal with the Spanish language, and you don't necessarily. No, it is a bit easier because it's been standardized so much over the years that there's less of a risk of impromptu new or fine-tuned requirements that pop up. The fact that this is still such a baby, it makes it more difficult. Also that you apply online, everything is in Spanish, but the big advantage is that there are very good and experienced consultants that can help you with it. And that you don't need, if you do that through a consultant, that you don't need to get your own NIE number and in your own digital certificate before even living in Spain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so those are very good reasons for using a trusted agent. Are there any more reasons?
But they will fight your case. They will fight your case if they come up with stupid requirements. Just the other day, I had one, but it was not for a Digital Nomad Visa. It was for a non-lucrative visa renewal. And they wanted everything, all the proof of income in a Spanish account, and they wanted a whole lot of things. And they referred, that was really a mistake of them. They referred to a specific clause in the foreigners law. So I quoted that quote of the foreigners law in my escrito that I write for everybody with their application or with the requirement, and when we're adding that. And I said, well, there's nothing there. There's nothing there about an obligation to have all that in a Spanish account. So I made a whole list of the stuff that the client had in foreign accounts, and that it met like the income requisites 3 times over. So next day, approval letter. But they try. And if you don't work with, Chris would say exactly the same thing, because he probably has had the same experience with some offices, because there are some offices in some areas that are known to try this. You need someone to have your back, because what would you do if you did it on your own? Submitted your application on your own. Absolutely. And you get a letter back in Spanish with a referral to Spanish laws that you don't know anything about. If you would have to go at that point, find somebody to fight your case, I don't take them. No. I know several other consultants or immigration lawyers. Well, maybe Pablo, because he's just a very nice guy.
Yeah.
He can't resist helping. But many will just not have the time to delve into everything that's been submitted with your application to see if there was anything wrong in the interpretation of the immigration office. So yeah, if you get a request letter from the UGE and you work with a consultant, they know your case inside out, they will fight your case and try to help you obtain the additional documents that they require at the best as they can. And with all the experience they have behind them, that's all in here, because that's what you pay for. Everything that's in here, that's not written down, that's not shared or not in no official instructions from the government, because it's all been watered down, or what do you call it, filtered down from the experiences that are shared. That's then you're at a loss what to do, and much harder to find somebody in your corner to help you fight that.
There we go.
Also because of the time restraint, because you get 10 days to respond. You can extend it with another 5, but still not a lot.
Yes, and sometimes it takes time to get an appointment to speak to an agent, and it takes longer than 10 days. I know it does. I know it does with Chris.
Yeah, definitely.
There we go. And how many months do you have to remain in Spain each year to fulfill regulations? Is it similar to the NLV?
No, well, yes, it is. From the start, that's been in the law, because it's the same law as for the Golden Visa, the Digital Nomad Visa. You have to be in Spain to be able to renew the visa for, well, other way around. You can't be absent for more than 6 months, which comes back to the same requirement that's in the law now for the NLV, that you must be here for 183. It's the same way, but just phrased a different way. So you can't be absent for more than 6 months a year to be able to renew it. But of course, if you're aiming for permanent residency after 5 years, or larga duración, that's the word for all the people who are coming on a visa, then you can't be absent for more than 10 months in a 5-year period total. That's also the same for all visas. That's the same for the non-lucrative as well. And that's what you have to adhere to. And lately there are more people coming up with questions like, but there's something about if you have to go back, if you have to be abroad for work reasons, then it can be 12 months. I don't think that's very likely that they're going to accept that for people who've been here on a digital nomad visa, because in reality, how can you come up with arguments why you had to be abroad?
Yeah, justify. That's the word.
How can you justify having to be abroad when you're a digital nomad?
Yeah, because you can work anywhere.
Even if you're a director of a company, you'll hop to your country of origin to be able to get minutes of meetings that you were there to take business decisions for the company. But that's only takes like a couple of days. That's no reason to be absent for months.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think that's going to work for digital nomads. No.
Very good. Have there been any changes in this in the bulletin of new residency laws that's coming out in May for the digital nomad visa?
No, because the digital nomad visa is not ruled by regular foreigners law. It's ruled by the investor law for the same as the golden visas and the highly qualified worker visas and the investors and all those people. So no, that's different. The only thing is when they skip from, let's say, UGE law to regular immigration law, is when they reach the 5 years and want to apply for larga duración. That's when they switch over to regular immigration law, and that's why they have to meet that requirement of the 10 months in absences in the 5 years.
Good. So nothing's going to change in particular unless another bulletin comes out for the different laws.
No, don't think so.
Unlikely. Okay. Well, that's actually all the questions I've got. Are there any more questions coming in from the live chat? So ask those now. And while we're waiting for those to appear, Richelle, do you have any more words of advice? Anything we've not told them?
Yes. When you decide that you don't want to go this road alone, which is fully understandable, ask Mahamaya, then choose wisely. Choose a consultant wisely. Don't just check a quote and choose the cheapest. Ask them for their experience. Ask them for their success rate. Ask them for actual references from clients if you're in a situation that you think is unique, and they confirm that they dealt with that before. If the clients, if they're happy, then we also be happy to chat with you for 5 minutes to confirm that that person actually worked on their application and there was a good experience. They were responsive and blah 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 blah. And there's nothing against a big law firm apart from the fact that you can be a bit more of a number than that you are with a small firm like of the 4 experts that are active on Louise Carr's Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. Great to know. Thank you. That's very clear. And if you need to get in touch with Richelle, I have put a link to the Facebook group Ask Richelle DNV Spain as one of the first links underneath the video description.
Yeah, that's good. But my personal page works as well. I respond to both messages.
Great.
No worries. Yeah.
So can't see any questions in the live chat. So unfortunately, that's all we have time for this week. Don't forget to click on the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll tell you in a moment who your special guest will be next week. I'm sure a load of you know already because he's on every 2 weeks. But first, let's give Richelle a big virtual kiss and a hug and say goodbye for now. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Well,
and
same to you. We need a kiss and a hug.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll see you again soon when the next thing
when
happens
there's news
is the
about renewals. Yeah, that will be good. Yeah.
Absolutely. So until then, bye-bye for now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Lovely. Well, wasn't that wonderful and helpful? Of course it was, yes. So who do I have on the show next week? Well, of course, it's Chris from Upsticks. And there he is on the comments telling us how great a show it was. Thanks, Chris. And we will have our regular fortnightly format where we answer all of your questions. It's mostly Chris that answers the questions. I don't keep as much information in my head as he does. And we'll have a special feature next week about... Now, I can't remember what it was we agreed, but you'd suggested something else to me this week that's really important as well. So we'll decide and I'll announce whatever that topic is going to be on our Facebook group. We'll also have our regular Ask Us Anything and frequently asked questions segment, plus the very popular argument section about something important or hilarious or both. So you can ask questions in advance on our Facebook page or the Facebook group and you will be answered. So thanks to all of you for joining us and leaving comments and hitting the like button and supporting us with donations. Yes, don't forget to go to the GoFundMe thing in the corner. It is all very much appreciated. I'll see you either on the midweek video or live on Saturday mornings at our regular time of 9 o'clock in the morning if you're in the UK or Ireland or Portugal, or 10 o'clock if you're in Spain or Central Europe. So that is all for this week. Somebody pass around the digital cookies. Peace and love and peas and fluff. And here's one final message from all of the voices in my head at YouTooSpain. See you soon.
Wave goodbye, lads. Bye. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Peace and love. Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. One more cosmic dance? All right, then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver. Let's dance.